Now, Australia is the latest country to try and rein in the social media use of children. It plans to introduce a minimum age limit for children, likely between 14 and 16 years old. Before that goes into effect, though, Australia says it will work on technology to verify the age of users. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he wants to see kids outside. Have a listen.
Well, we're listening to parents and listening to the community, and I want to see kids off their devices and onto the footy fields and the swimming pools and the tennis courts. We want them to have real experiences with real people, because we know that social media is causing social harm. So what we've done is put money in the budget in May for a trial.
Well, let's get more on all this. Jo Hickman Dunne is a research fellow in social media and adolescent mental health and wellbeing at the Manchester Institute of Education. And she joins me now from Manchester. Jo, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us this evening. You, from what I understand from my team, you are currently gathering data around the use of social media with young people between the ages of 11 and 22. Just correct me if I'm wrong at any stage. You are perfectly then positioned to talk about this initiative. Would it work in your view from the research you have done thus far?
Hi, Issa. Nice to talk to you. Yes, yeah, we are currently speaking to young people. We work with young people up to sort of older than 20, but we're really interested in young people's experiences up to the age of 15 to understand exactly that, what those experiences are on social media and the positives and the negatives around its relationship to their mental health. In terms of banning social media for young people, whatever age that is, 14 to 16, I guess my first point would be that the question about whether it would be successful or how it would be successful needs to kind of be backed up by actually why are we creating these policy. And the real challenge is that we don't actually have a lot of evidence around the negative effects of social media. We hear a lot of scary stories, and we know there are risks, for example, around harmful content, and we know there are challenges, but there are also lots of positives. And a lot of those kind of negative stories circulate in the media more widely than the benefits. So we assume there are lots of negatives, but actually the evidence that we have is not very consistent. So it's quite difficult, I think, to bring in policies like this without a really good grounding in evidence.
So, Jo, I mean, have you asked young people about how they would feel about a ban? And I wonder what they said. How would they work around? Do they find what ways they would work around it? At this stage, it's important to clarify, we do not know what exactly the Australian government, with this legislation, how they would restrict, how they're going about restricting social media. But what are the young people you've been speaking to? What are they telling you about a ban?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are kind of different messages from young people, but generally social media is quite important to them. They know they experience the negatives and they experience the positives. And I don't think any of them, the young people that I've spoken to, would think that banning is the way forward. Because, and you say that, as you say, it's been tried in different areas and it's not quite clear how it might happen in Australia. But we do know from speaking to young people that they generally find ways round restrictions. It's a little bit like telling somebody not to push the red button. You know, if you ask them not to do it, they will find ways to do it. So it hasn't been successful, certainly in other areas in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, the criticism, I suspect, could be that, you know, this it can't be a one-size-fits-all. I'm guessing something that you probably have seen too. And there's a lot we don't know, as you just said, Jo. Is there a better strategy for the government, I wonder? What do you recommend?
Yes, I think in our experience, speaking to young people and also seeing what kind of exists, certainly in the UK, actually how we support young people to use social media for good and in better ways and in ways that is positive for them would be much more beneficial than an outright ban. And also speaking to young people about that, so understanding from them what it is that they need and what would be most useful for them. I think that's also a really important part of the solution is in bringing young people into this conversation and hearing their voices on this issue. I don't think we can really understand how they experience and use social media without talking to them. And I don't think that any young person would say, yes, ban it absolutely outright.
Yeah, this is the part where I think it's crucial to bring them into the conversation because these decisions, whenever or whoever they're made by, will be for them. Joe Hickman Dunne, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, Joe. Appreciate it.